Hey everyone, this is probably going to be one of the most personal videos that I could ever make, and I was kind of debating about if I should even make this video because I know that there's a lot of oversharing that happens online, but kind of the heart behind this and like why I decided to make a video about this is because I think today especially I've just been experiencing a desire to be known, and most people in my life do not know what I'm about to share. Some people do, but yeah, I always kind of feel like a little bit, well, a lot of emotional distance from people, and like this feeling of hiding something from them, or that they don't really know me or what I've gone through or my story. And I thought about like if there was one thing that I really wish people knew about me, like what's the one thing that I could tell someone that would make me feel like they know me, it would be this, like what I'm about to tell you, because it's the hardest thing that I've ever gone through. And it's not actually like the most vulnerable thing that I could share because that's something else. This is because it's something that I've overcome already and worked through. I feel like I can share it. And I also know multiple people who have been through similar things or just their own mental health struggles. And so I do want to start with a trigger warning. I will be talking about suicidal thoughts and depression in this video, and so if that triggers you, feel free to turn this off. But yeah, I'll kind of start by saying that anyone who knows me knows that I am a quiet person, and I believe that I truly am introverted. Like, I don't think that it's like I'm hiding my true personality and I'm secretly like supposed to be this outgoing person. Like, I genuinely have like an introverted temperament naturally. But yeah, even growing up, I actually had this condition, which I later learned is called selective mutism, where it went beyond just normal shyness, and up until kindergarten, so maybe the first like 5 years or so of my life, I actually would not speak in public. Like, I would only talk to my family, and so even like when I went to preschool and like partway through kindergarten, my classmates and teachers would like ask me questions and I like would not say a word to them. It's like I was like choosing to be like, I am not going to say anything to this person right now. And then that broke kind of partway through kindergarten. But then it's like as soon as I went home or I was in the car with my family, I would start talking normally. So yeah, that kind of happened. So basically what I'm trying to say is like even from a young age, there was something in me that already had like, yeah, like a shyness, or I mean, I haven't been diagnosed, so I don't want to use the phrase social anxiety, but I guess you could say it appeared to be that. And yeah, I think kind of where it started was I did have friends growing up until when I started high school. High school, I pretty much, for the most part, like I did have a few friends, but like for the most part, I didn't really have like a solid friend group, and I was kind of a loner. And so kind of a stereotypical like shy kid who would like sit alone at lunch. I would actually like eat lunch in the washroom or in the library. And yeah, I just like didn't feel like I fit in. I would think about like who I could be friends with in my grade, but yeah, I like genuinely couldn't find anyone that I tried to click with. And there was this one group I tried to join, and I'm not saying this to like talk badly about anyone. I'm just going to share what I think is like relevant to the story so that you can understand some context. But yeah, I basically experienced rejection where like um, some people I wanted to be friends with like didn't want to be friends with me. And yeah, so then I tried hanging out with other people, but we just like didn't click. And so I don't want to like blame anyone for being like the reason that I didn't have friends. I definitely like didn't fully know how to connect with people either. So that was like a whole thing, and definitely struggled with self-esteem and insecurity just in that age and that stage of my life. But loneliness it's more than just not having friends. It's like feeling alone, and I like started to have thoughts that I felt like no one really knew me and that no one cared about me, like really, really cared. And I was so tired of just having like surface level interactions with people because I really craved depth. And so basically, what happened was like with that mix of insecurity and like not really having friends, I just felt so alone. And I would like cry about it. On a weekly basis, I kind of ended up like I would just sit on the floor in my room and cry for like a substantial amount of time, like not just a couple minutes, like probably like 1 or 2 hours at a time regularly, like every week, just out of the pain of how alone I felt. And it got worse. Like in March 2018, it was spring break, and so I was having even less social interaction than usual because I wasn't at school because we were all off. And I just felt like I was in this bubble where I kind of felt like everyone else was over here and I was just like left out. Like I just felt like I couldn't be connected with like what normal people were doing. And yeah, I forget exactly what it was, but I feel like I cried like 5 nights in a row that week or something wild like that. And I remember one night where I couldn't sleep and I just felt so down. Like I was in my room until like probably 4 a.m. or something like that, just because I was so emotionally and mentally unrested that I like couldn't sleep. And then this is where things kind of changed, not in a good way yet, but in April 2018, yeah, I was in my room one day and this thought entered my head and it just said, hey, why don't you kill yourself? Then the pain would stop, then you could escape the pain. And I had never had a thought like that ever before. That was the first time. And I immediately pushed that thought away because I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. Like, at this point, I was strong in my faith too. And so I also knew morally that that was wrong, but also that my life had like a God-given purpose, like that there's something more to life. So that definitely like went against my beliefs. Like I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. And yeah, like that thought didn't come from me. It didn't come from God. Like that was the enemy speaking to me. But even though I pushed that thought away, that temptation came back. And from that day forward, it started this season of my life where those passive suicidal thoughts became more of like a chorus in my mind, I guess. So they weren't active. Like I never planned to take my life. Like I was never in danger. But it was like this switch went off in my head. And even before that point, like I was just in this headspace of kind of like always being down. Like if anyone asked me, how are you? Like I could never honestly say good to that because I just felt I just like wasn't doing well overall. And yeah, like not feeling understood, not feeling seen, not feeling loved by people, all of those things. Um, and I didn't tell anyone for a while that I was having those thoughts. I just, because I already felt alone, so I was like, who can I even tell this to? And something else that happened during that time was I did start having temptations of like self-harm, which again, had never had those kinds of thoughts before in my life. Um, but yeah, for some reason, like the thought of doing that was attractive in a weird way. But again, like because of my faith, like I never gave into those temptations. And so that's what I mean when I say that Jesus saved my life, because my faith in God was really the only reason that I decided not to end my life. Because I think something that I really learned during this time is that before this had happened to me, I would hear like occasional stories of people struggling with mental health or wanting to end their life, and I genuinely didn't understand it. Like I believed that people could get to that point, but I didn't understand, like, okay, life is hard, but how could it be so hard that you would get to the point that you'd want to end your life? And in a way, it doesn't make sense because it really is a disorder. Like, that's not natural. That's not the way that things should be. But when I started living through it, I was like, oh, this kind of makes sense. Like, I can totally see how it is possible to suffer so much that you start having thoughts like that. And because those temptations, when they come, are kind of out of your control. It's about like how you respond to them. But yeah, so I went through that, and there was one night where it was like 2 a.m. and I was playing a worship song on my piano, again, feeling sad, and I prayed the most honest prayer that I've ever prayed, and I said, God, you are the only reason I'm still alive. And I meant every word of that, and when I said it, I realized what it meant. Like me kind of declaring, like, I'm so low right now that I know for a fact that because of my faith in you, like, you are the only one keeping me going. Like, there's no way, with what I was going through at the time and remembering how I felt, there's no way that I would have found any other reason that would have been enough motivation for me to like want to keep going. Like, I needed only God and his infinite love could be enough of a reason for me to somehow see hope and purpose in that season of my life. And yeah, what kind of changed things for me was a youth group camp I attended, where there was one night where everyone was just kind of sitting on the floor in a circle and like sharing kind of testimonies of like hard things they had been through in their life. And it might not make sense, like it might sound weird, but that actually, like, I kind of stopped having suicidal thoughts after that night, because that experience, it's hard for me to describe it because obviously I'm not going to share like exactly what people said, but when I felt so alone, something I would think to myself is like, I wish I could just be in a room of teenagers and people my age and just like hear people be honest about hard things they've been through in their lives. Because part of my struggle was like, I did not feel happy, but I would go out in public and feel like I had to act happy, or like you look around, all you see, or what it seems like a lot of the time, is that people are just acting happy, and like I just felt so out of place because I felt like no one would understand that I was actually feeling so much pain. And so that experience of having people my age at this youth group camp all sharing like very deep things, it just like released something in me of like, okay, like this is like the final validation that I needed to know that I'm not alone. Like, I just want to know that I'm not alone, that like I'm not out of place for like going through these really hard things. So yeah, that is the story of how Jesus saved my life. And yeah, praise God, like after that, November 2018, I no longer experienced those thoughts. And Um, I probably won't share the full story in this video, but I will just say that multiple times in my life I have also had seasons of experiencing like symptoms of depression. And again, I'm not diagnosed, so I'm not going to say for sure that I do, but I will say that if you looked objectively at my life, um, they looked like symptoms of depression for sure. And that is also something that Jesus has walked me through and that I've experienced breakthrough from, healing from. I've fallen back into it and come out of it. Um, but yeah, I just wanted to share that, and I hope that if anyone's watching this and relates, it reminds you that you're not alone and that there is hope because like I'm in such a different mindset now, but when I was having those thoughts before, like I just remember thinking like I feel like I'm going to feel this way forever. Like I don't see a way out of this. Like I genuinely thought like there's a chance I might never get through this. Um but now I'm here on the other side of it like 8 years later sharing this story to say that like I did get through it. And so if you're living that right now, you might not know how it's going to happen, but believe me when I say that like you can get through it, like you can overcome it, and you don't have to feel that way forever, and you don't have to end your life to escape it. Like there's life, there's not death. um as like yeah, like death is not the only option. And so yeah, I wrote a blog after I overcame that season, and I kind of wrote it in terms of like what I wish someone would have told me during that time, or what I would have wanted to hear, what I needed to hear. And yeah, I've shared it with other people who were like struggling, and it actually helped them. And so the website is called September 10, and the word 10 is spelled out. It's not the numbers. It's ten.weebly.com. And I hope that blog helps you. So yeah, you're not alone, and you are loved, and there is hope.